Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bat Around. Today's show is brought to you not by that famous Seattle coffee shop that is on 6 corners in a 300-foot square radius that had me in line for 20 minutes picking up my wife's online order. Definitely not brought to you by that piece of crap coffee shop. It is, however, brought to you by Atman's Deli. If you're craving that classic New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to Atman's Deli for daily specials today. Ryan, good morning. Sorry that everything was kind of just haphazardly thrown into getting this show started on time. Like I said, that piece of crap coffee shop. That have you ever gone to this place? It rhymes with Farlux. Have you ever gone there and seen how slow the employees work?
I've been there once or twice.
No sense of urgency whatsoever.
Yeah, it's
my gosh.
It especially when you're in a rush. It's always when you're in a rush that they seem to go the slowest.
Well, and that's the thing. I shouldn't have been in a rush. I got there at 9:30, and it's across the street from our house. I got home at 9:55.
That's
because
rough.
I sat there in that line. That was maybe 8-9 cars deep when I got there, which isn't a lot. I've seen it.
Bruce with the squeaker toy.
I've seen it wrapped around the building and almost into Route 924. So it's been worse. And 20 plus minutes I sat there. And my mobile order was ready for 10 of those minutes. And I had to sit behind a woman who got one coffee, and then it took another 8 minutes for her to get her next coffee.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Well, I got my coffee fresh from Ryan's kitchen in this cute little cat mug.
Yeah, I generally don't drink coffee. I usually have I try not to drink energy drinks, but man, those mobster recovery drinks.
Yeah.
We're not trying to give any free advertising here.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, and it just so happens that the Orioles played a dud of a game last night, which seems to always happen on a Friday night before a Saturday morning show.
Yeah. I threw that in the notes because we talked about it last week a little bit about how, coming off the heels of a terrible loss, we have this show. But overall, the week was good. But we'll get into that.
We'll get into all that and more. Dean Kremer, 5 2/3 innings pitched last night. 2 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 earned runs. Look, man, he had 2 outs in the 6th inning, and it was a 1-0 ball game. And there's no reason that he should be on the hook for the loss. He pitched really well last night. Keegan Aiken came in, and he did what 2022 Keegan Aiken did, right? Started the season gangbusters, hot as hell, throwing nothing but strikes and getting everybody out. And then out of nowhere, the floodgates opened with him. And he also, Keegan Aiken has always allowed a lot of inherited runners to score. And that's what he did last night. Came in a third of an inning pitch, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned runs, plus a 2 inherited from Kremer. His by far and away, Keegan Aiken's worst outing of the year. Kremer retired the first 11 batters of the game, gave up a solo home run to Vinny Pasquantino. You put in notes pretty sharp, otherwise till he walked 2 batters in the 6th before being pulled. I thought that he gave up a walk and a hit. I was working the restaurant last. I didn't realize that he walked 2 in a row.
Yeah.
But it's really magnified the fact that he gave up that home run as the first hit that he gave up, because the previous inning, the Orioles had the bases loaded with 1 out, and they didn't score. And then a solo home run as the first hit you give up. It's just kind of like the writings on the wall, like, this might not be our game.
Yeah, especially in the first inning, you get Gunnar and Adley to second and third with 1 out, and then Gunnar gets back picked off of third base on a play that I think should have been overturned on review, but I guess they didn't.
He was out. No, he was out.
He was out. I wasn't paying super close attention to it, but I mean, you can't make that mistake. Runner on third, less than 2 outs. You can't take that much of a lead off the bag. He's fast enough to score. you know, in another circumstance.
And that's the thing. He seemed so sure that he was safe. Like, I happened to look up at the TV when this is happening, and he seemed so sure that he was safe. I was like, oh, then he was probably safe. And they showed it every angle. In my opinion, he was out. And then, like you said, why are you getting that big of a lead off of third base?
Yeah.
You know, and when they got runners to second and third, was that before O'Hearn came up or after O'Hearn came up?
Was O'Hearn batting third last night or fourth?
No, I believe he was batting third and Santander was fourth.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Santander, I believe, was batting when he got picked off.
Let's see. Gunnar Henderson hit by pitch. Adley Rutschman singles. Gunnar to second. O'Hearn grounded out to second base. Both runners advanced. And yeah, Santander was up when Gunnar got picked off. So one out on third with Santander at the plate.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you've got your cleanup hitter up. You've got to trust that he's going to put the ball in play to drive you home. And instead you get picked off. Orioles end up not scoring in the inning.
Yeah.
And it was just a microcosm for the game. The 6-run score or 5-run score in that sixth inning. You go down 6-0. Then you load the bases with nobody out. And you're like, okay, a hit here, a hit there, maybe a home run. Next thing you know, you're right back in this ball game. Well, then Arias, was it Arias or was it no? It was Arias. Arias strikes out on a 3-2 pitch. Gunnar strikes out on a 3-2 pitch.
Arias popped out to around the first base dugout, foul territory. He fouled off. It was a fine at bat by Arias.
Oh.
He worked the count full 3-2, fouled off a few pitches, and then popped out and foul territory.
Gotcha.
Might as well have been a strikeout in that situation.
Yeah. Again, I was watching it work, and I looked up at the TV. It was 3-2. It felt like 3 seconds later, I looked up, and Gunnar was at the plate, and it was 3-2 again. So I just assumed it was a quick strikeout.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always hated about with doing this show was when I had to work on a Friday night.
Yeah.
That like you can't really watch the game. I'm watching, but I can't really watch. You know, so I saw the big moments, but the fact of the matter remains: bases loaded, nobody out. You get a foul pop out and a strikeout. Luckily, Adley hits the grand slam, but then Dylan Tate comes in the next inning and gives up 3 runs.
Yeah.
So it's all a moot
Really
point because now you go from being back in the game at 6-4 to now you're down by 5 again, and it doesn't really matter at this point. But the bigger thing here is that the Orioles were dominated by Alec Marsh again.
Yeah.
They were dominated by him again. Why can't they figure this guy out?
Excuse me. I don't know. He's not a strikeout guy, and he struck out 5 Orioles in the first 3 innings to match his total from the previous 2 games combined. He also struck out 5 Orioles the last time we saw him a few weeks ago in Baltimore. I don't get it, man. Good changeup. Average fastball. I don't know. I don't know why we can't hit Alec
And then
Marsh,
you look at Adley. It's so funny, man, because somebody posted the Orioles leaders in F4 on Twitter the other day. And they were like, what's the most shocking thing on here? And for me, it was that Adley's F4 is 0.3. And we were talking about, the batting average of 275 is good. The on-base percentage, what was it, 338? It's good. It's not Adley-like, but it's good. But the OPS was like 638. And so you're sitting there and you're like, man, what's going on with Adley? So, of course, he comes out 2 singles and a grand slam in the game. The lone bright spot for the Orioles offensively last night. But, again, none of it matters because the pitching gave up 9 runs. And aside from Adley, nobody else could get anything done. And it brings us to Jackson Holliday. 0 for 2 last night with another strikeout. He's 1 for 27 with 25 Ks. Now, you look at Alex Bregman. He started his career 1 for 25. Willie Mays started his career 1 for 25. You look at how bad Cal Ripken was to start 1982, and he ended up winning AL Rookie of the Year. Same thing happened with Gunnar. Same thing happened with Adley. Julio Rodriguez had a terrible start to his career, too, before winning Rookie of the Year. So, Ryan, you ask in the notes, what's the level of concern? My level of concern with Jackson Holliday overall, there is none. I am negative concerned. I have no concerns about the player that he's going to be. Right now, he's 1 for 27 with 15 strikeouts. You can't ignore that. Do I think that he needs to be sent back down? It's too early. He's been here for a week and a half. I think it's far too early to say that. but he's got to get it going. As much as we all hated on Ramon Arias, and we're like, he shouldn't be here. This was Holiday's job, and he got sent down for service time manipulation. Well, one, he got called up before that service time manipulation came into play, and two, he's 1 for 27 with 15 strikeouts. Like, Mike Elias knows more than we do. We have all of our wants and desires, and we seem to, myself included, fly off the handle when things don't happen that we think should happen. But there's a reason that Mike Elias is in the position he is, and there's a reason I'm wearing an Orioles t-shirt doing a podcast from my kitchen. My concern overall, not high, but my concern as far as how much longer he's got to get it going.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Long term, zero concern on Jackson Holliday. He is a stud of an athlete, a stud of a baseball player, and he is going to be fine. Right now, the Orioles are trying to win baseball games. Holliday, his spot in the lineup came up with the bases loaded and nobody out, and he was pinch hit for by Ramon Arias. Now, granted, it was a lefty on the mound, and while Arias may not be a regular splits guy, he hits righties better. Holliday tends to struggle more against lefties. Understandable. I had a feeling, I could feel it deep in my soul, that had Jackson come up in that situation against Will Smith, I had a feeling he was going to come through. I don't know what that feeling was, but maybe it's just because it seems like he's so due, right? But Arias comes in, has a good at bat, but fouls out on a pop up. And it's like, all right, back to square one. Now, I don't think Ramon Arias would be 1 for 27 with 15 strikeouts if he were playing in Jackson Holliday's role instead of Holliday. I do think that as time goes on, if Holliday continues to struggle, then you might have to have a serious conversation about, does he need to go back to AAA a little bit, get his confidence back? We've seen it with other guys. We saw it with Grayson Rodriguez last year. It's the same for pitchers. Now, you mentioned these other guys who have struggled to start their careers. Cal Ripken was batting 117 at the beginning of May and then went on to win American League Rookie of the Year and have a Hall of Fame career. These guys are going to figure it out. But the big thing is, and I tweeted about this the other day because Ryan Ripken had Mike Elias on his show, and they were talking about this. For guys like Jackson Holliday, who for their entire lives have been the guy. Jackson Holliday has been the guy on every team he has played for his entire life. That means that and sure, he's had slumps here and there, but he's never struggled to this degree. The issue for Jackson Holliday is that he's trying to learn how to deal with struggling to this level while also trying to learn how to succeed at the level, right? He has never had major league success. He will have major league success. It's going to come for him. But when you're trying to learn both how to figure out major league pitching and how to break out of the worst slump of your career, and you're no longer the guy on your team, that's tough. So it's going to take a little bit for him to really get up to speed, I think, at this point. And for the first couple weeks, it seemed like Jackson Holliday was really being pitched to. Pitchers were getting calls a little bit off the plate, and they weren't making mistake pitches. They simply were not. There was like a week where he didn't see a single pitch in the heart of the plate. It was all paint, and then, he'd get into a 2-strike count, and, he'd chase either, a pitch just above the zone or a really good breaking ball underneath the zone or at his feet. And that's a tough adjustment to make because guys at AAA do not have that kind of stuff typically. All the pitchers who are too good for AAA are in the majors, right? So he wasn't facing elite pitching at that level. Now, to Jackson's credit, and I may have said this on last week's show, he's had some really, really good takes on 2-strike pitches. There have been some, you see a right-handed pitcher throw a changeup that breaks a little bit away. That's a pitch that a lot of hitters go after. He's been very good at laying off those pitches. He's taken some really tough 2-strike pitches, and it shows me, the batter's eye that he has and that we know he has. But the last couple days, he's gotten opportunities where there have been pitches that are very hittable pitches that he has swung right through. And last night, notably, it was a 2-2 pitch, 95-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, swung right through it. Those are the pitches that Jackson Holliday is going to have to hit if he wants to find himself in a groove. And right now, he's not hitting those pitches. So in the short term, yeah, I don't think he's helping the Orioles' chances to win. Long term, like we've said, and it's always going to come back to this until we see a truly extended slump for Jackson Holiday.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine in the long term.
The thing with
he's going to be
Jackson
better
Holiday,
than fine.
man, first and foremost, he's a table setter. Look at what happened in Norfolk after he came up. They won their first game in 9 tries since he got the call last night. They won their first 10-game losing streak.
They went on a 10-game losing streak.
0-10 and 0-8 since Jackson got the call up to the majors. They're 1-8 now after the 4-1 win last night. We'll get into that in a little bit. It just shows how important Jackson Holiday is to a lineup when he's going. When he's in that leadoff spot and he's getting on base. I mean, he led the minors with 18 runs scored when he got called up. He's that guy. He's a difference maker. For the Orioles right now, he's not a difference maker. He noted that, he got thrown a lot of off-speed stuff, a lot of spin in that series in Boston. And then he comes and he plays Milwaukee and he strikes out swinging on 3 fastballs in a row in one at bat where he didn't even look particularly close. He was late on all of them. And it's not that he can't hit those fastballs, it's that he's like, oh, there's a lot more spin at this level. There's a lot more off-speed stuff. So he's preparing for that. And then he's getting fastballs blown by him because he's looking for the off-speed stuff instead of looking fastball and reacting to the off-speed stuff. Like we've said over and over again, he's going to be fine. He's going to figure it out. And if they send him down, it's not because they think, oh, you can't do it at this level. It's because what they did with Grayson last year. It's like, look, man, you need to go down there to remember there's a reason we called you up. You are better than the level that you're playing at right now. Get that confidence back and get back up here. If and when he gets sent back down, he's going to tear the cover off the ball again and earn his way back up here. It's only a matter of time. End of the day, Jackson Holiday is a major league player. He's just playing poorly. Yeah. A lot of it is pressure. And then you have the nerves, right? You have the nerves at the beginning of your career, the first couple of games, and like you're the number 1 overall prospect in baseball. Your dad was a 4-time Silver Slugger and a 7-time All-Star with forearms the size of my quads. Like your dad was a known player in this league, a feared hitter. And now you're his son. You're the number 1 overall prospect. You're getting the call to a team that won 101 games last year and is off to a better start this year than they got off to last year. I mean, the Orioles at 12-6 going into last night's game. It was their second best 18-game start in franchise history, second only behind the 13-5 start that the 97 team got off to. So the team's playing good baseball, and now you're not. And now it goes from feeling the nerves of getting that call to, okay, well, now I'm in this slump. I got to swing my way out of it. He's going to break out. Yeah. It's just going to take him a little bit of time still. I'm surprised, given his speed, given the way that we saw him impact that game on Sunday against Milwaukee when the Orioles won that final game of the series 6-4. He got that base hit, went first to third, had a great slide into third base on the throw in. He can impact the game with his legs. I'm surprised he hasn't thought about laying one down to try and get himself on base because he's come close to beating out a few slow grounders to second base.
Yeah, and he's a good bunter from what I understand and what I've seen from him. So yeah, maybe it's something like that that'll help him get a little confidence back just to get on base. That's the other thing. He only has 1 walk, and he's a guy who draws a lot of walks typically. So it's an adjustment for sure, and I really do think he's going to be fine. It was good to see him get that first hit off a 99 mile an hour fastball, and it was in a big spot too, and he pulled it. Yeah. So look, that's obviously good to see. But yeah, you hope he gets a couple more and then he can start stacking them up because I really do think that, once he gets one really good, solid knock, he's going to be just fine. He just needs to gap one and then he'll have his confidence back.
In the meantime, while we're waiting for him to get his confidence back, if you want to sit and watch the Orioles game today, you're looking for something to eat, Rofo chicken is cheaper by the dozen. Right now, get a 12-piece mix for just $20. Plus, if you upgrade your Royal Farms rewards account to include Rofo Pay, you'll save 15 cents per gallon on gas through June 30th. We all know we can save some money on gas. So stop by your neighborhood Royal Farms today for these and other great offers. And Ryan, you mentioned it at the beginning of the broadcast.
Real quick, can I say something before we move ahead? I just want to mention Austin Hayes real quick. He's another guy who has been really, really struggling to start the year. He came in off the bench last night and knocked a 99-mile-an-hour single, which obviously that's good. His only real hit in the last few weeks was a little blooper that dropped in front of the right fielder. So it was good to see him get a nice line drive base hit, and then he took a hanging breaking ball off the helmet.
Austin Hayes.
And if hitting a line drive single and taking a hit by pitch is not quintessential Austin Hayes, I don't know what is. So especially with Cowser starting to come back to earth a little bit, it's good to see that, maybe Hayes is going to be able to take that next step.
And that's the other thing. You kind of saw signs of him breaking out of it. He hit that long fly ball to right field against Boston. Hit a couple balls on the screws against Milwaukee. In that series against the Twins, the final game of that series, I think he had like a 99-mile-an-hour ground out. He had like a 94.5-mile-an-hour ground out, and then he smoked a line drive that was like a nice reaching grab by the third baseman. So you could see him starting to make harder contact, and when Austin Hayes gets going, he tears the cover off the ball. So he could be getting things going right now.
And you could see his reaction when he hit that line out to third. He kind of walked back to the dugout with a smile on his face, like that's just how things are going for me right now, But Hayes has been in the league since 2017. He's going to figure it out. He might not be an all-star, and he may never be an all-star again, but he's too good to be, struggling the way he is.
They're just going to have
especially
to
if he's
find
healthy.
ways to get him in the lineup so they can, take advantage of him getting hotter, because it does seem like he's starting to figure it out at the plate, after a few weeks of bad baseball from Austin Hayes. And it's funny, Ryan, because bad baseball seems to follow this show, right? Like last week, the Orioles went into Boston. So they lost 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh, and they should have won all 3 of those games in Pittsburgh, right? And it happens to coincide with our show. They lose the last 2 games of that series. They go to Boston, they sweep Boston, they go home, and they get smoked by the Brewers 11-1, and then they get smoked by the Brewers 11-5. And you're like, what is happening? Then they win the game on Sunday, and then the Minnesota comes to town, and they sweep Minnesota in pretty decisive fashion, right? Yeah. And then Friday night, and they lose 9-4. And it's just, and this happened last year. 11-1, 13-3, 15-2, and then let's go do a Saturday show. We don't want to bring those negative vibes into the show. Absolutely don't want to do that. So, all in all, the Orioles are 12-7. They're a game and a half out of first place in the American League East. I believe that's what it was, because they were half game out going into last night. I believe the Yankees won. They were up late. So, but the Orioles are playing good baseball. What's going right? Ryan, I'll let you start things out.
Yeah, there were a lot of things to me that stood out this week, and trying to ignore the bad taste in our mouths from last night's loss, it was a really good week overall. Gunnar Henderson homered in 3 straight, all 3 games against the Twins. He has sole possession of the Orioles team lead with 6 home runs. And Paul, all this guy does is smoke baseballs. I was looking at his Baseball Savant page. At the end of April last year, he had 4 batted balls of 106 miles an hour or higher. And I don't know what the updated count is, but like 3 days ago, he hit his 13th of the year, and we're halfway through April. So Gunnar Henderson just absolutely smoking baseballs. Ryan O'Hearn, he also homered 3 times this week. He just missed the 4th in last night's game. He flew out 409 feet to center field at Kauffman Stadium. And he currently leads all of baseball in expected batting average, expected slugging, and expected weighted on-base average. If you look at his Baseball Savant page, there's a lot of red and a lot of 100th percentile. And that's really cool to see for a guy like Ryan O'Hearn, who was a waiver claim before last season and turned a corner. And boy, is that exciting.
Definitely have figured it out with Ryan O'Hearn. Like I said, Ryan O'Hearn blocked me on Twitter. And it's, a couple of things is me saying, he's a 30-year-old guy who's bookended his career with good seasons, but everything in the middle was crap. And also saying, like, making fun of the fact that he was ever put in the outfield, and he continues to be put out there. But he made some nice plays in that third game against Minnesota.
He did.
He's an athlete. He's kind of like a Chris Davis light. You know what I mean? But look, Ryan O'Hearn is having a hell of a season. His Baseball Savant peripherals are incredible. You talk about incredible. Gunnar Henderson is first in baseball in hard hit rate, and he's first in baseball in average exit velocity. Kind of like Jordan Westberg is in like the 97th percentile in hard hit rate, and his average exit velocity is like just under 95 miles an hour, which is considered a hard hit.
Yeah.
So the Orioles have quite a few guys on this team that just absolutely destroy baseballs.
Yeah.
And then they've got another guy who started to destroy baseballs in 2021, came back to earth a little bit the last 2 seasons, but is off to a great start this year, and that's Cedric Mullins. Started that Minnesota series off in the first game with just an amazing diving catch in center field. A ball that just shouldn't have been caught, and he did it. But we say that time and time again about Cedric Mullins. And
I think StatCast had that as like a 65% catch probability, which not a chance in the world.
No way.
There are maybe 3 center fielders who make that play: Mullins, Byron Buxton, and maybe like Michael A. Taylor or Miles Straw or somebody. No one else is. I mean, that's a double or triple.
I don't think that they're paying attention. Like, I think that StatCast has to just be focusing on the ball off the bat and where it was hit to, because Cedric was playing in right center field.
Yeah,
on that play.
My understanding of catch probability is that it takes into account where the outfielder is playing and know the distance they need to travel, the straight line route to the ball. I don't understand 65% on that one, but a ridiculous catch, hit a homer later in that game, and then walked off the series with another bomb onto the flag court. So a good series for Mullins.
The thing about Cedric, people think that Cedric is like crazy fast. Cedric's fast, but he's not like crazy fast. I think last year his sprint speed before he got hurt was in like the 67th percentile.
It was around there, yeah.
Yeah,
his speed rating on MLB The Show is a 68.
Yeah, he's fast, but he's more quick than he is fast. He's got good instincts. He gets a good read off the bat, and he's quick, and he's a good base runner. Guys like Bobby Witt Jr., Jorge Mateo, Enrique Bradfield, they're fast. So they're probably thinking, a normal center fielder probably has what, on a scale of 1 to 180 for speed. If Cedric's a 68 in the 67th percentile for speed, him getting to that baseball, he probably had to make that diving catch. And that's probably what they're saying is like a lot of guys may have caught that still on their feet.
Yeah.
But the fact that Cedric got there and caught it nonetheless, it should have been an extra base hit. It should have scored 2 runs. It saved the inning. And ultimately, in my opinion, saved the game because it gave that team momentum. I saw the one guy in the bullpen when Cedric made the catch just jump out of his seat. I would love to see a video of the bullpen when Cedric makes that catch because they had a bird's eye view just looking right at him. Yeah. I would love to see their reaction of that play. But he's gotten it going. The hydration station. You put in here that it made its triumphant return.
It's a little different, Paul.
So I don't think they've ever had a hydration station before. It was just a dong bong.
Well, they tried to play it off as the Homer hose. There was a hydration station was like maybe its 4th nickname last year. But
okay.
It's back. The dong bong still exists. I'll get to that in a second. But the hydration station is here once again. I should say the Waterworks made their triumphant return because for a while they were doing the little handlebar thing. Didn't really like it. Didn't really fit the vibe. And then they bring the Waterworks back, and the vibes are suddenly through the roof. And the Orioles start winning ball games again. This time, Paul, it is. I think the technical term for it or the brand is Bongzilla. It has 4 Homer hoses. It has room for I think 6 or 8 hoses, but they have 4 on it. The other ones are plugged, so that anybody on base when a player hits a homer can join in on the celebration. And we saw that last night. Adley Rutschman hits a grand slam. You got 4 guys hitting the dong bong simultaneously. And man, that was a sight to see. And it almost salvaged what was otherwise a really bad game. But last year's version of the dong bong is now in the bullpen. And Melanie reported on that the first time we saw it, because I think it was Mountcastle that hit the first homer. It might have been Westberg, but they showed the bullpen, and Keegan Aiken was hitting the dong bong out in the bullpen. So what Melanie told us is that, so what Melanie told us during that broadcast is that the relievers now have a pick to click for each game. And if their guy goes yard, they get to hit the dong bong out in the bullpen. So very exciting. And Paul, I was hoping it would be here by this morning so I could have it standing right behind me. I may or may not have ordered a Bongzilla off of Amazon. I found the exact one thanks to a little help from a couple people on Twitter who found the link. I've got a dong bong coming, a Bongzilla. And my plan is to decorate it just like that. I'm taking it to Cincinnati for my bachelor party in a couple weeks. Yeah, that's exciting. And it brought the vibes back. It really seemed to have made a difference.
Absolutely did. And it's so cool that, like, they kind of just resigned themselves to the fact that, like, look, Mr. Splash is out there. They still have the splash zone. We're trying this new handlebar thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. People love this. It gives the good vibes. The vibes are back. Let's do this. And then they still made it something new. And I just think that that's so cool. It's so the ingenuity in what they've done. I just think it's awesome. I love the pick to click. I love it for the bullpen. That is so much fun. We used to do a pick to click on this show, Take to Rake. We used to. Why did I not think to bring Take to Rake back into this show?
I was thinking about that the other day. Can we do that? Can we start?
Why did I not think to bring Take to Rake back? I guess because it's an hour iteration of the show now, and Take to Rake just never popped into my head. But yeah, no, we'll do Take to Rake. We got to bring it back as the best part of the show. Definitely gonna.
I think we're gonna
bring Take to Rake back starting today. Corbin Burnes.
Paul, I was just gonna say some more fun stuff happened this week.
Yeah, Corbin Burnes, he played the role of stopper. Look, he's had 2 phenomenal starts this year, and he's had 2 starts where he wasn't at his best, and yet he still managed to give them 5-6 innings of 2 or 3 run baseball in those 2 starts. It's amazing to see the difference, right? Because you look at Dean Kremer, and Dean Kremer his first start, he gave up 3 runs on 2 home runs, 3 hits in the second inning, and third inning, and gave up nothing before or after that. His next start, he went out and absolutely shoved, took a 1-run, 0 earned run start through 7 innings against Pittsburgh. But then his next start, he goes after and he gives up 8 runs, right? On a day where he didn't have it, he gave up 8 runs. That's the difference between a guy who's a number 3 and a guy who's a legitimate number 1. When Corbin Burnes doesn't have it, he guts through 6 innings of giving up 2 or 3 runs, whereas another guy guts through 4 innings and gives up 6 to 8 runs. It's amazing to finally have, and, you know, all apologies to guys like Eric Bedard wasn't ace. He just didn't want to be one. To guys like Chris Tillman and John Means and Jeremy Guthrie and, you know, Rodrigo Lopez. Jason Hamill, guys like that. All apologies to you guys to those guys because they were fantastic, not aces.
Yeah.
Corbin Burnes is an ace, and he proves it on his worst nights, where he still goes out there and keeps you in the ball game. He's going to get the start today against Cole Ragans, and I think he's going to pitch angry because his last start against the Royals this year, he gave up those 2 runs in 6 innings, but he gave up 9 hits, which tied a career high. I think he wants to go out there and shove against the Royals today.
I think he does too, and I think we're going to see it. It's pitchers like him who are able to make that adjustment. You get battered around by a team a little bit, and then you come out and face him 2 weeks later. Yeah, he's too good not to, you know that he's been looking at all the video and all the scouting reports and learning where he went wrong 100%. In that first start against Kansas City. It's not going to happen again today. And the Orioles 4-0 in Corbin Burnes starts. Like you said, even when he doesn't have his good stuff, he still finds a way to give you damn near a quality start. And that's as good as you can ask for. Now, he's going to have outings, and I know this as I think 4 or 5 year fantasy manager now. He's going to have outings where he looks really good, and then he runs into the 6th or 7th inning and starts to get batted around a little bit. Those starts are going to happen. He's going to have a few 5 innings, 6 earned run games. That's just the nature of baseball. But it's refreshing to have a guy, like you said, Paul, who even when he doesn't have his good stuff, still finds a way to keep his team in the game. And that's what he's done for the Orioles so far. Yeah, and so has Grayson Rodriguez.
I love Grayson Rodriguez. I picked him to be the Orioles' best pitcher this year, and he's off to a tremendous start.
The Orioles 4-0 in Grayson Rodriguez starts as well. He himself is 3-0. He picked up another quality start against the Twins in Game 1 and another win for his record. Grayson Rodriguez looks like a second ace. And if we get Kyle Bradish back, who has begun a rehab assignment with Bowie, he looked really good at Bowie. He's starting against Jacksonville for Norfolk, I believe, tomorrow. The Orioles could have 3 aces. And that's what we were talking about when we traded for Corbin Burns. It was, you've got Burns, Bradish, and Rodriguez. All 3 of those guys you could consider legitimate number 1 starting pitchers. And the Orioles now have 3 of them. What a world we live in. And I want to give a shout out as well to a guy I talked about a little bit in the spring, Albert Suarez. He started the game on Wednesday afternoon. It was reported the night before that Tyler Wells was going on the injured list with elbow discomfort or elbow inflammation. And it was his first major league appearance since 2017. And he comes out and gave 2/3 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts, and left the game to a really, really nice and well-deserved standing ovation. Shout out to Albert Suarez, man. He could be a weapon for this team. The fastball can touch 97, good off-speed stuff. And just during that game on Wednesday, I had a thought. You know, when John Means and or Kyle Bradish gets back into this rotation, I could see Suarez moving into the bullpen and being your long man. And, you know, Jacob Webb came in after Suarez left the game and gave up a couple runs. Maybe Suarez takes Webb's spot in the bullpen or Mike Bauman's spot in the bullpen. I don't know. But Suarez looks like a guy that the Orioles could really utilize and help this pitching staff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's touching 96 with that fastball. He's getting great movement on it. Gave up 3 hits, scattered 3 hits in that game. I would have liked to have seen him finish the 6th inning, especially when you saw, I believe it was Aiken came in and gave up a couple of hits. And then I can't remember who it was. It was a few days ago. Lots going on this week. But the lead was basically given up in the 7th inning. And I think it was Jacob Webb.
It was Webb in the 7th. I don't remember who came in after Suarez. It was either Aiken or Tate. I think it was Aiken.
And
no, because Aiken came in and pitched the 8th. And I remember thinking, well, if Aiken was available, no, Aiken came in to relieve Jacob Webb when he was struggling in the 7th. And I remember thinking, if Aiken was available, why wasn't he the first guy out of the pen? I think it was Tate who got one out in the 6th. I could be wrong. But in any event, Albert Suarez was fantastic.
It was Danny Coulombe. It was Danny Coulombe.
Yeah.
He gave up a walk and a run. Jacob Webb came in to replace Danny Coulombe, and he gave up. Yeah, because Coulombe got out of the 6th.
That's right. He got out of the 6th, and then Webb gave up his runner.
And he got an out. He walked a guy, and then Webb came in and gave up 2 hits and allowed the run to score. Aiken came in, pitched a 1/3 of an inning, got a K, and then Cano came in the 8th. He walked a guy, but struck out 2, and then Craig Kimbrell locked it down again because, my God, he's been fantastic.
He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, he's been so good. I do want to talk about this rotation a little bit. First, I want to remind you all that if you have a loved one, call somebody for help. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. What I wanted to talk about is this rotation, because you've got Burns, you've got Grayson, all right, and they're 8-0 when those guys take the bump. Dean Kremer has showed me a little bit of something. You know, that 3rd start, terrible, right? But, you know, the 1st start, he gave up the 2 home runs against the Royals to Bobby Witt and Salvador Perez. So those are like the 2 guys. Now it's AJ Melendez just becoming that dude too. But he showed me something because he didn't give up anything before that, and he certainly didn't give up anything after that, right? Tyler Wells has left a lot to be desired. Now he's on the IL. He's been replaced with Albert Suarez. And Cole Irvin has been Cole Irvin. He's been a number 5 starter. You look at this rotation, and even though he was really good the other day, you have Albert Suarez as essentially your number 3, because Kremer is the number 4 on this team, and you have Cole Irvin as your number 5. And Dean Kremer, as good as he can be, is as bad as he can be too, right? So you're basically leaving Grayson and Corbin no room for error, right? Because the second they have a bad start, people aren't going to get after them, but it's going to be oh, great. If these guys aren't pitching well, we're doomed,
Yeah.
right? Kyle Bradish, his first rehab start, 3 innings pitched, 44 pitches thrown, 1 hit, no walks, 4 strikeouts. He got 22 swings and 11 whiffs in those 22 swings. You have to be cautiously optimistic. You never want to mess around with a UCL, but it's not even a tear in his UCL. It's a like a grade 1 sprain, right? So that PRP injection seems to be working. He dominated. We'll see how he does in his start tomorrow against Jacksonville. But John Means is getting beat up in his starts. He had a couple good ones and some really, really bad ones. I get that it's his spring training, but we were counting on John Means. And I know you can say that anybody who was counting on John Means this year is foolish and hasn't been paying attention to his career. But he's still, they gave him his own John Means business bobblehead for a reason. He was a drop third strike away from throwing a perfect game in Seattle. He's an all-star. He finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. Like, he's a legitimate big league starting pitcher and a really, really good number 3 when he's at his best. And oh, by the way, he had a 2.66 ERA last year in his 4 starts after coming back from Tommy John surgery. So it's still there. The guy just didn't forget how to pitch. How much of John Means, Ryan, what we've seen from him is him working on stuff because this is basically his spring training, and how much of it do you think is actually concerning?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I haven't gotten a chance to actually watch him pitch. I do know that I think it's 2. I think he's made 4 rehab starts to this point, and in 2 of them, I know last night, or not last night, but his most recent one, he didn't make it out of the first inning. He got 1 out and gave up 5 runs, and I believe that's the second time that he has failed to make it out of the first inning. Mm-hmm. He may have completed an inning the time before that, but he's had 2 really, really rough starts down there at Norfolk. So there's a level of concern for sure that, maybe he's not the same guy that we're accustomed to seeing. But you said it, Paul, it was just the end of last year. He pitched really well in his 4 starts. So I think there's still something there. I believe he only can make 1 or 2 more rehab starts. I think there's a 30-day window with which you have to be activated. And maybe he's activated an option to Norfolk to continue getting a little seasoning. But yeah, I think John Means absolutely can come back and help this rotation. I'd like to think that his poor outings are because he's working on things and not exactly trying to get guys out at this point. But, it's an ERA over 18 in 4 rehab starts in the minor leagues. That's not what you want to see. So hopefully he's just working on tweaking some things and he's going to be fine and be, a 3.7 to 3.9 ERA pitcher for this Orioles team. Mm-hmm. But, we said at the beginning of the year with Bradish and Means both out to start the season, this pitching staff is 1 injury away from looking pretty rough. And CNL Perez is out of the bullpen right now. Tyler Wells is out of the rotation. And we've got Albert Suarez pitching in the big leagues, which he was great on Wednesday. Is he going to be great every time out? No.
He had a near 6 ERA in AAA, so you got to wonder what's going on there. If it was just they hadn't seen him, didn't have a book on him yet, and that's why he was able to shut. And Twins lineup is not great. So we have to take that into account too. John Means, he got his first start on March 31st. He threw 1 inning, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 home runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks.
Yeah.
April 6th, 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 Ks. April 11th, 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 home run, 2 walks, 3 Ks. April 17th, a third of an inning, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs, a walk, 0 Ks. 6 1/3 innings pitched, he's allowed 8 hits. He's allowed 8. I'm sorry, that's just for April. Just for April. He 4 games, 2 losses, 18.41 ERA, 7 1/3 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, a 2.59 WHIP. I'm going to give John Means the benefit of the doubt because I think he's earned it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that John Means is essentially what's going on with him is it's his spring training. He's probably working on things. The crazy thing is I saw no write-ups about it. I saw not one beat writer talking about John Means. I looked in Rock's blogs, not even a mention of John Means' name. So it might just be that they were told don't talk about it, or it might just be there's nothing to talk about. It's his spring training. He's working on things, but it's definitely worth monitoring going forward because the Orioles are going to need him. You cannot have a rotation where 2/5 of it is Albert Suarez and Cole Irvin,
Right.
and expect to make a World Series run like this team has been expected to make. We are 19 games into the season. The team is 12-7. There's a lot of baseball left to go, but they're going to need starting pitching to make it through this season.
And here's the thing about John Means too. The pressure's off of him now. There is no longer pressure for him to be the ace of this team.
Correct.
When he comes back, and he will be back at some point, assuming he, has a clean bill of health, he's our number 4 at best. He is at best, he's going to be our number 4 starting pitcher behind Grayson Rodriguez, Corbin Burns, and probably Kyle Bradish. He may even be behind Dean Kremer. So he's going to be our 4 at best. And so the pressure's off for him to be that ace, because when Means was in his prime, he was the best pitcher on the staff, and he needed to be because we didn't have anybody else who could be that guy. We have 3 other guys who can be that guy. John Means, if he pitches like a really good number 4, that's all you can ask for.
And AJ Mukherjee says this could be the first series that they get swept in for a while if Burns loses today. That's a big if, and that's taken a lot off. That's taken a lot for granted with Corbin Burns. That dude's going to come out here, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him throw 7 to 8 innings of 1 or 2 run ball today.
I can see it for sure. I also think that, he's opposite Cole Reagans, who held the Orioles to 1 hit over 6 1/3 scoreless innings when we saw him a couple weeks ago. So it's entirely possible that Burns is on the losing end of a really good pitcher's duel today. And then tomorrow you got Seth Lugo on the mound, who's got a 1.05 ERA for the Royals going up against Cole Irvin. We'll see. We thought we were going to get swept by Milwaukee, and then Corbin Burns came in and helped us out. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
we certainly will. Hey, Ryan, what company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates?
I guess JJ Hardy last week. I think that was wrong. AJ Mukherjee, the guy who just commented.
It's his company, right? Close. He wishes. AJ Michaels, heating and air conditioning, and Baltimore Annapolis will give you and can qualify you for $6,000 in rebates. So check out ajmichaels.com for more details. You were close, man. AJ Mukherjee. That was a nice pull.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, soft toss, Ryan. You've got something that you want to lob over the plate for us today.
Yeah, something I wanted to share. We've seen several instances with this new ownership group, and specifically David Rubenstein. He seems very interested in engaging with the fan base. We've seen him out at the stadium, shaking people's hands, taking pictures,
kissing babies.
We've seen, instances on social media where he's, engaging with the fan base in some kind of positive way. Something happened this week that caught me by surprise, and it was really nice to hear. A friend of mine whose parents have been longtime season ticket holders, their family was invited by David Rubenstein himself to watch a game with him from the owner's suite with himself, Cal Ripken, Governor Moore was there as well. And it's part of what I understand to be a series of efforts by David Rubenstein to get to know some longtime season ticket holders. And you can use all the cliches in the book here. It's a breath of fresh air. It's a nice change of pace. But the Orioles seem to have an owner now who actually cares about not only the team, but the fan base as well. And we don't know yet. It's only been a couple months. We don't know yet what kind of ideas he has for the club, where he and his team are going to allocate their money, if they're going to work on stadium upgrades, spending in free agency, trying to extend some of these young guys. We don't know what's going to happen on the financial side of things yet. We don't know what kind of restraints Mike Elias is going to have to work with. But what we do know is that David Rubenstein has embraced this new role as owner of his favorite team, the Baltimore Orioles. And to this point, Paul, that's all we can ask for. So I wanted to share that he's making a concerted effort to get to know some longtime season ticket holders, trying to become friendly with them, answer their questions, sit in the owner's box and watch a game together. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, really fun commercial. The other day that they put out. You've got you've got, they're showing a desk and they're showing clearly Cal's hands typing on a computer and all that. And then it's David Rubenstein and Brandon Hyde in the dugout. And Brandon's like, who's going to tell him? And David's like, not me. I'm new here. Brandon's like, well, I'm not going to tell him. And then Gunnar comes and he goes, I'll tell him. Runs out to shortstop where Cal's at the desk and he goes, hey, your office is up there now. Points to the warehouse.
Yeah.
For me, it was very obvious what they were saying. Cal had a consecutive innings streak that went over 1,000 innings at shortstop before he got an inning off. And he's the Iron Man, 2,632 consecutive games. The guy never takes a day off. That's what they're talking about. But people seeing Gunnar go out to shortstop, say, hey, your office is up there now. As if to say, this is my place here now. Got people talking and got people thinking about, what does this mean? It doesn't really mean anything. It means that Cal's in the front office now and he never takes a day off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a changing of the guard. Hey, the next great Orioles team, this is our shortstop, right? Love that David Rubenstein was in that commercial. Love the fun that they were having with it. But you look at that commercial, Ryan, the Orioles and their social media team have to know that people are going to see that and they're going to take the ball and they're going to run with it, right?
Oh, for sure.
They have to know that. It doesn't mean anything, but do you think that maybe it could mean something?
I think it means that they're trying to engage with the fan base and have a good time. I don't think there's any underlying meaning to that. And the speculation was, there's a desk at shortstop, and David Rubenstein just tweeted out a picture of a desk at shortstop like, hey, is this normal? And everyone's like, oh my God, we've signed Gunnar to a 15-year contract extension. He's going to be an Oriole for life. No, it was just for a fun video. Look, Gunnar Henderson's a Boris guy. We know that Boris guys 99.9% of the time are going to hit the free agent market when their time comes. He's had like six notable clients who have signed contract extensions before they hit free agency. It just doesn't happen with Scott Boras clients. Now, we saw Scott Boras have a pitiful offseason. He was very bad. 4 of his marquee guys signed late in the year. All of them got off to slow starts. And Jordan Montgomery dropped Scott Boras as his agent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that this is the end of the Scott Boras reign, but if this continues for a couple more years and Boras is as stingy as he was in this past offseason and as adamant about getting, maximum money for long-term deals for guys that teams just don't want to sign to those kind of deals, we could start to see more guys drop Boras and say, look, I just want security. I don't need to hit free agency and get $500 million. I just need to, set myself and future generations of my family up for a long time. And you can do that with any agent if you're a really good enough player, right? So I'm not saying I think that Gunnar in a couple years is going to drop Boras, but I think it's possible. And if that happens, maybe he's more likely to sign a long-term deal here. But as for the video, I really think it was just to make a fun video. And you're not going to not do something like that because the fan base is going to react in a different way, right? So I think it's fun. I would love to have Gunnar here for life. I hope we have Gunnar here for life. I think it's entirely possible, but I think the video was just.
I think the video is exactly what it was. What I took it as at face value, and that's Cal never took a day off, and now he's in the front office, and he's never taking a day off. I think that's and Gunnar's the new shortstop, and he's the rookie of the year. He's gonna be, in my opinion, MVP finalist. He might win MVP this year because the guy is. He's not hot right now. He's leading baseball in average exit velocity and hard hit rate. Like he is. And if you're going to give any player a 10-year, $300 million extension before they hit free agency, like in their second or third year in the game, it's going to be a 22-year-old shortstop that hits 110 mile-an-hour missiles on a regular basis. It's going to be that guy, So, I would love to see Gunnar get an extension. I think it could happen. I think Adley's more likely to happen first, But it's face value, ladies and gentlemen. It was Cal doesn't take a day off, and now he's in the front office, and the same holds true.
Now, to the team's credit, real quick, this will be my last point on the issue. Boris did say in the offseason during his big, media thing at the winter meetings, he was asked if the Orioles have contacted him about extensions for these young guys, and Boris said only once or twice a day.
Yeah.
So it's not like this team doesn't want to keep these guys around. It's not like Scott Boris is going to stand in their way if they really want to get it done. They will put in every effort possible to get it done.
You also had to,
and I truly do think they will.
With questions like that, though, man, you got to take whatever Scott Boris says with a grain of salt.
Sure.
Because he's also not going to alienate a team or his player by saying, no, they haven't asked me once. He's not going to do that either. So it may have been a little bit facetious, but I'm sure that they've approached him about like, hey, if we gave him 8 years, $80 million, would you guys take that? that they could have given him the Manny Machado offer, the one that like you're not serious, right? You never know. Anyway, if you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Eric Hosmer, Orioles prospect T.T. Bowens, former Orioles reliever LaTroy Hawkins, and incoming Maryland basketball transfer Selton Miguel, you can find it all in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature today at PressBoxOnline.com. Moving on in the show here, down on the farm, Heston Kjerstad continues to do Heston Kjerstad things. Ties win 4-1 last night. Kjerstad hits 2 home runs, has 3 hits overall, 10 long balls for the season to tie for the minor league lead in home runs. Cade Povich, 5 1/3 scoreless innings with 3 hits, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts. He's the Orioles' top left-handed pitching prospect, and he now has 33 strikeouts in 21 2/3 innings. Across 4 starts, boasts that .83 ERA. 3 walks last night, but just 9 in his 4 starts combined. Adib Mahmoud says, does Povich get called up before the All-Star break? He seems to have his control somewhat better now. Ryan, I'm not ruling that out. He's been dominant. I mean, his batting average against right now is 100. The whip is, I have it right here. His whip through 4 starts right now is 0.74. Cade Povich he's a dude right now. That dude's a dude.
Both of those numbers lead all of AAA, by the way, as do his 33 strikeouts. That's most in the minors. 41.8% K rate is tops in AAA. So is his average against, you mentioned, .100, whip .74, FIP 2.51. Shout out to On the Verge for that stat. Saw on Twitter this morning. Povich is dealing. Mm-hmm. He looks really, really good. And the biggest concern with Povich has been his control, and he seems to have that reined in, at least more so than he has in the last couple of years. And it's entirely possible that he is, kind of a redesigned pitcher now and can help the Orioles in 2024.
I think that he, if I'm looking at things, if I'm reading the tea leaves here, I think he could be the next guy called up by this team, because they don't really have a spot for Connor Norby or Heston Kjerstad or Kobe Mayo at this point. They will. Those things tend to sort themselves out. What they do have is a starting rotation that has 2 aces in it and then a bunch of question marks. You don't know how long Albert Suarez is going to last. You can't keep sending Cole Irvin out there to give up 4 or 5 runs in 4 to 5 innings. If Cole Irvin puts up another dud tomorrow, with Cade Povich having pitched last night, you could see Povich make that next start in Cole Irvin's place. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what he's doing in AAA, he's dominating people. And the Orioles have a need in their rotation. He went from 114 innings in 2022 to 126 in the third in 2023. He's due to take that bump up to about 150, 160 innings pitched this year. He could do that on a major league roster. He very well could do that. So for me, if they're going to make another call up, it might be Cade Povich. Whether that's next week, next month, or at the All-Star break, I don't know. But to me, that makes more sense than calling up anybody else to fill a spot that's not there.
It makes a ton of sense. I mean, you could conceivably bring up Connor Norby if you're ready to cut ties with Ramon Arias, but bringing up a Heston Kjerstad, I think the most likely replacement would be Ryan O'Hearn, and you're not replacing him right now. He's hitting the ball way too good to be replaced by Kjerstad. So yeah, I could absolutely see it being Povich. The problem with Cade Povich, and we saw this a lot last year, is when he's off and when he doesn't have his command, he's going to give up like 7 runs in 3 or 4 innings.
Yeah.
Like that's just what he does. But then he'll come out the next week and strike out 10 in 6 innings and give up like 1 or 2 hits, no runs. That's the kind of pitcher that we saw Cade Povich was last year. But if he can be a little bit more consistent with those positive results, then yeah, he absolutely could be a candidate to fill that 5th starter spot while we await the return of a John Means or a Kyle Bradish or a Tyler Wells. Yeah. I could see him, fit in the
Absolutely. A new edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles pitcher Grayson Rodriguez. The same Luke Jackson, by the way, who will be co-hosting the show with me in Ryan's place next Saturday. So you make sure we want you to tune in every week, but tune in to see Luke co-hosting the show with me next week. But on the cover of the new Press Box edition, Luke himself profiles Orioles pitcher Grayson Rodriguez, talking to many other people that have been part of his path to potentially becoming a homegrown ace. Plus, reflections on the life and legacy of legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Driesell, and more. The new print issue is available now at your neighborhood Royal Farms and any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox. Plus, you can read the entire print edition at PressBoxOnline.com right now. Again, also, both free. So go pick up the print edition of Pressbox. AL.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. Just real quick, I did want to mention, because you mentioned that Luke is taking my place next Saturday. I have an opportunity that I've been looking for years. I get to coach my 4-year-old godson's T-ball team. So I will have some Saturday morning conflicts over the next couple of months, and then getting married at the second weekend of June. So I may be here 2 or 3 times over the next couple months. And I talked to Paul about this last week. I wasn't sure what the schedule was going to be, but there are some Saturday morning games. So, games get rained out. I might be able to pop in and say hello. But for the most part, it will be probably someone else sitting in my seat for the next couple months. But I will be back in full force around the middle of June.
All right. Well, we are certainly looking forward to that for sure. Do we RSVP to your wedding? Because we're coming.
You did.
Okay. Yeah, we're coming. We're going to be there. Thanks for inviting us, by the way. Appreciate that.
You got it.
I didn't get the invite to the bachelor party, but it's.
I'm sorry,
dude. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
No, I know. There were so many people who, if it was up to me, I would have a 20-person wedding party and be inviting 50 people to the bachelor party. But it's just not conceivable, unfortunately.
You guys are going to.
Megan was very like, we're doing 7 people max in the wedding party, and I was like, all right. So I had to make some difficult cuts.
Yeah.
So
you going to Great American Ballpark? Catch the Orioles Reds?
We're going to Cincinnati in 2 weeks. We're going to see the Friday night and Sunday afternoon games, Orioles and Reds, and then we're going to the Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
Dude, what? That's
yeah, very, very, very excited.
That is awesome, man. That's such a.
We're going to drive down. It's like an hour and a half from Cincinnati to Louisville. We're going to do the tour of the Louisville Slugger Museum Saturday morning, and then hit Churchill Downs.
That is very exciting. You're going to have so much fun. God, that's such an awesome bachelor weekend, dude. Mine was Ocean City, and we had an awesome time. We were going to try and do New Orleans, but my best man, who ended up dropping out the week of my wedding, we don't have to talk about that on there. He didn't ask anybody till like 2 months before my bachelor party about New Orleans, so we ended up going down to going down to Ocean City. We still had a blast. We had a blast, but like half of us were in one place, half of us were in another place, and like we were within walking distance of each other, but we all didn't stay in the same place. It was weird, but we had a great time nonetheless because my friends and I know how to do it up in Ocean City. So,
well, it was interesting because when I knew that I wanted to have my bachelor party at an Orioles road weekend series, and then the schedule comes out last August, and it's like, all right, Pittsburgh, Chicago White Sox, I think Kansas City, and then Cincinnati. And none of those were appealing to me in the slightest until I realized that the Cincinnati series is the same weekend as the Kentucky Derby. I was like, oh, okay. This would be a good
I never would have even thought of it. I never would have even thought of it. We got to get things moving on here. AL East wrap up. Wilyer Abreu, Tristan Casas, Rob Refsnyder, and Sadat. Oh my God, you put the hardest names to say. And Sadane Rafael.
He homered. I'm sorry.
All homered, and Brian Bello hurled 6 innings of 1-hit balls. The Red Sox trounced the struggling Pirates 8-1. Rays reliever Chris Davinsky surrendered 5 unearned runs thanks to a pair of errors by infielders Curtis Mead and Yandy Diaz, and as Juan Soto's 3-run homer proved to be the difference in this AL East showdown. Yankees 5, Rays 3. The Jays scored early and often, jumping ahead with a 4-run second inning, and their pitching held down the fourth the rest of the way, stifling the Padres' offense aside from a Fernando Tatis Jr. solo home run as the Blue Jays beat the Padres 5-1. The AL East is once again the only division in baseball in which all 5 teams have a winning record. Yeah, just like the AFC freaking North, because we just can't have fun here, right?
Nope.
Not allowed to have nice things. I want to remind you, today's show is brought to you by Atman's. If you're craving that New York deli experience, look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's Harbor Point. Go to atmansdeli.com for daily specials. Ron, I have to admit, I did it that way because I knew you were expecting me to go, a bar.
I thought you were going to shout it, and I was ready to give it a little pop.
Shout it from the rooftops. You should be shouting from the rooftops for Atman's Deli at Harbor Point. All right. Moving on in the show to some other things. What's on tap today? It's a rematch between 2 Cy Young contenders in Corbin Burnes and Cole Reagans. They squared off in Baltimore just 17 days ago as the Orioles came out on top thanks to James McCann's walk-off single. Not to mention, it was a big 3-run homer from Jordan Westburg, right? Wasn't that part of the game?
That was
that was the walk-off home run. That was a walk-off 2-run homer earlier in the first game of that series. That's right.
That was the first game of the series. Right. This was game 3, yeah.
But Reagans won the pitcher's duel of that game, holding the Orioles to just 1 hit into the 7th inning. The Orioles have yet to lose a Corbin Burnes start, knock on wood, while Reagans is still in search of his first win despite a 1.93 ERA. If the O's roll out the same lineup against Reagans, it will look like this. Batting first is shortstop Gunnar Henderson. Batting second, DHing Adley Rutschman. Batting third at first base, Ryan Mountcastle. Batting fourth and playing right field, Tony Taters Santander. Batting fifth at second base, Jordan Westburg. Batting sixth, in left field, Austin Hayes. Batting seventh in center field, Jorge Mateo. Batting eighth at catcher, James McCann. And batting ninth at third base, Ramon Arias. I don't think that's going to be the lineup today.
No. And I put in the notes, if they roll out the same lineup, which they should not, because that's not a very good lineup. Now, there are, look, Brandon Hyde has kept Adley off his feet a lot recently. He DH'd a couple times last week in games that you normally would expect your starting catcher to be behind the plate. And I expect that to continue. I really think they're trying to preserve Adley's longevity as a catcher. So with the lefty on the mound, I do think see James McCann get the start behind the plate with Adley at DH. I'd be cool with Mateo getting the start at second over Holiday, considering Holiday's struggles and a really good left-handed pitcher on the mound. I'd be fine with Mateo taking Holiday's place at second. I think you have to get Cedric Mullins in the lineup. He's been playing too well recently. So I would slide Westy over to third base. Ramon Arias should not be starting. I put Westburg in his place. And then you got Mullins in center field with Mateo moving to the infield.
I do
that's
think
what I'm
Ramon
expecting.
Arias is going to start today. I think he's going to start and play third base. I think Westberg's going to Westberg. See, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Hayes might get the start. Hayes might get the day off because he took that pitch off the head. It was a breaking ball. He still got hit in the head. It's a good problem to have that the Orioles have too many quality players to put into their batting order right now. Westberg's been one of the best hitters in baseball, like quietly one of the best hitters in baseball. I think that especially against the lefty, I think he's got to play. And maybe he plays third base because he's looked really good there. And you move Ramon Arias over to second base where he hasn't had an error in like ever. Mullins.
Yeah. Although they did bring in, sorry to cut you off, they did bring in Arias last night, and then they put him at third base and moved Westburg over to second. So maybe they prefer Ramon.
They could do that, and Westburg's versatile enough and athletic enough that you can really put him anywhere.
Definitely.
I think they want to get Mateo into the lineup. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing center field. I really would not, especially after that nice catch that he made the other day out there. Maybe get Mullins the day off to start. He'll probably come in as soon as the righty comes onto the mound. You know what I mean? But like I think you're going to see, especially because I was expecting to see, Hayes, Mateo, and Arias in the lineup this past Sunday, or this past what was it? Thursday, Wednesday. I was expecting to see them on Wednesday, and you didn't. I think you're going to see Mateo and Arias get starts today, and you might see Mullins start the game on the bench. We'll see, but that's my hunch for today. There's a lot of ways that it could go.
And we didn't even mention Colton Cowser, who I think gets a day off. He's due for a day off.
But I think we both can agree he's going to get the day off to start for today. He had that 2-hit game, but it's sandwiched in between an 0 for 6 with a golden sombrero thrown in there. So I think that Cowser's going to get a day off today for sure. After today's game, the Orioles conclude their series in Kansas City tomorrow afternoon with a 2:10 start and a matchup between Cole Irvin and Seth Lugo. Lugo is 3-0 with a 1.05 ERA, but has given up a decent bit of traffic and struck out just 13 and 25 and 2/3 innings pitched. Then the Orioles will head from Kansas City to Anaheim for a 3-game set starting Monday against a rejuvenated Mike Trout and the still not very good otherwise Angels. Mike Trout leads all of Major League Baseball with 8 home runs, but that's about the only good thing going on with the Angels. Then he owes.
I'm so glad Mike Trout's back.
He never really went away. It's just his inability to stay on the field. Then the Orioles will have the day off Thursday as they return home, where they'll host the Athletics for 3 and then the Yankees for 4, a huge series against New York. Really hope to come in there, either tied or just a game back for first place. That's going to be such a fun series. I like have it circled on the calendar for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, some viewer interaction here before we get to take the break to close things. AJ McCurksey, are they going to extend Grayson Rodriguez this year? Dude, I have no idea.
Let me look at my crystal
ball.
I'd
like to think that they'll extend him at some point. I think that what you're going to see is potentially Adley first, Grayson second, and then they'll approach Gunnar. I think that's what you're going to see from this new regime. But it's April of Grayson's second season. I think that they feel like they have bigger fish to fry first. And Grayson Rodriguez is a big fish. He is legitimately a homegrown ace. And I think that they're going to do whatever they can to keep him here in Baltimore for a long time. But I don't think it's at the top of their priority list. I think it's Adley first, then maybe Grayson, and then Gunnar if they think that they can realistically sign Gunnar. AJ, you also said, sure wish Trevor Bauer was going today instead of Cole Irvin. Dude, Trevor Bauer is never pitching for the Baltimore Orioles ever, ever, ever. And he may never pitch in baseball, in Major League Baseball, ever again. Yeah, there's now a lawsuit against the woman who made the false accusations against Trevor Bauer, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and she's not the only woman who's put claims out against Trevor Bauer. It all could be this big scheme to get him for money, especially since he's not a very likable personality. He's never pitching for the Orioles. It's never going to happen. They aren't going to touch him with a 10-foot pole. The PR hit would be massive.
As soon as I saw this comment come in, I immediately took the over in my head. Over 0.5 times you were going to say where there's smoke, there's fire. Because every time this guy comes up, those words come out of your mouth. Look, even if you ignore all the off-field stuff and all the negative PR surrounding this guy, this dude's getting shelled by the equivalent of like.
Is he really? I haven't paid attention to him at all.
He hasn't been good. I don't even know. He's pitched in like 3 different leagues over the last month, and he had like one decent outing against the Dodgers like low A team or something. I don't know. He's not good
against
anymore.
The Dodgers low A team. Who the hell was he pitching for?
It was like some scrimmage. I don't even know. He was in some like showcase league. And now I think he had a start last week in like the Mexican League and gave up 4 runs in 3 innings. Like he doesn't have it anymore.
One start in the Mexican,
and that's if you ignore all the off-field stuff.
Like he has one start this year in for the Mexican League. 3 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned. No walks, no home runs, 2 strikeouts. But yeah, he's getting shelled. And then he was good last year in the Japanese league. Pitched in 2 different Japanese leagues.
Sure, but that's like double A.
There's nothing else other than the one start in the Mexican League, and he's 33 years old. He's not his major league career is likely over. It's likely over. I mean, let's be realistic about this here for a second. He's probably never going to pitch another major league inning unless all of a sudden he has a come to Jesus moment and he proves beyond a shadow of doubt that he's a reformed, changed man, and suddenly he's Kenny Powers and his fastball is back and he looks every bit of Trevor Bauer. You know, I do not see it. And AJ, love that you tune into the show. Love that you're interacting with us. We have a lot of people that like to tune in, that like to say unrealistic things as far as pitchers are concerned. And this one to me is unrealistic. Trevor Bauer will never pitch for the Baltimore Orioles. He may never pitch in Major League Baseball again. Anyway, we're bringing it back. Take to rake. Everybody's favorite, take to rake. I cannot believe I've made it 3 weeks into the season before realizing we haven't done take to rake. Like, where is my head? That's like, if we were going to leave some things out and bring some things with us to the new iteration of the show, take to rake definitely needed to be one of those things that we brought to the new iteration. All right, Ryan, I'm going to put this in here. Take to rake. Since you did the notes for the show last night, I'm going to let you pick first. The rules for take to rake moving forward, they are quite simple. There's one rule. You cannot take the same player you took the week before. Ryan, this is going to be solely a you and me thing, and whoever happens to fill in for one of us throughout the show. All right, so this week it'll be you and me. Next week it'll be me and Luke Jackson, and then we'll see who goes from there. You cannot take credit for a fill-in co-host victories, and neither can I. You were first. Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna go out on a. You know what? No, I'm not. Never mind. We got the Angels coming into town. I don't know what the Angels rotation looks like where they line up in their rotation. I don't know if we're going to get all three of their lefties or if it's going to be, mix and match. But I'm going to go ahead and take Jordan Westburg. I'm thinking we get a couple left-handed starters this week. Westburg has been absolutely smoking baseballs, and I think that continues. Give me Jordan Westburg for take to rake.
All right. Ryan takes Jordan Westburg. I love Jordan Westburg. I love how everybody, somebody kept, one guy for the Baltimore Battery or whatever started saying, I'm the president of the Jordan Westburg fan club, and Zach Bollinger, and God love him, he's a big Jordan Westburg guy. And then Orioles statistics sat there and said that I guess we have multiple presidents for the Jordan Westburg club, alluding to the fact that he is. Last August 22nd, I sent out a tweet that said, we're going to look up at Jordan Westburg's box numbers next August, and we're going to see that he's hitting 277, 23 home runs, and 75 RBIs. And we're going to say, that dude's a dude. I'm calling myself the official president of the Jordan Westburg fan club. So it kind of hurts my heart that you took him, because that was going to be my take. Literally the first take to rake, and you took my take.
I'll switch if you want. If you want me to really go out on a limb, I was... No. All right, never mind.
You took who you took. You got to pick first. You earned it, and you took who you took.
I'll be honest. It was a last minute switch in my head. I almost said another name, and then I was like, oh no, Westy against the lefties.
I'm taking the obvious, Gunnar, baby.
Okay,
I gotta take Gunnar. He's the best player on the team. I'm taking Gunnar Henderson. He hits missiles on a daily basis. I'm taking Gunnar. Who was the guy you were going to take?
I was going to take Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about going with the deep sleeper pick. I think it's time Hazy breaks out a little bit.
I think so too. I was thinking about James McCann, but I was like, we're not talking about for today. We're talking about for the whole week.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think James McCann would be a great take if it's just for today and maybe even tomorrow. But it's got to be Gunnar.
Before we end the show, there was a tweet from an Angels fan last night talking about how Ryan Mountcastle appealed that error at first base that broke Nolan Schanuel's on-base streak to start his career, and was like, do with this information what you wish, as if it's like we all need to boo Ryan Mountcastle or someone needs to throw at this guy's head. Don't be surprised if Ryan Mountcastle has an absolutely dominant series in Anaheim.
So wait, Ryan Mountcastle appealed the error?
I think that was just a guess. It can be appealed either by the league, by a coach, or by a player. So I don't think I don't know if they got information that Mountcastle himself made the appeal. Even if that is the case, you think Ryan Mountcastle cares about? I doubt he even knew that it would have any impact on this guy, who, by the way, was batting like 0.95, but kept getting on base via the walk.
Did you see this? I stapled my finger.
How did
I have a little stapler right here, and I've been playing with it, and I just accidentally left my finger under the thing. It didn't staple, but it went in there. I was like, what the hell?
That's a good place to end the show, I'd say.
Yeah, there's not even blood. What are your guys' idea on Freddie Garcia? AJ wants to know, what's your guys' idea on Freddie Garcia? I think he's a terrible evaluator of talent. Just him bringing in Tehran should show that the guy is annoying. I gotta be honest, I don't know who Freddie Garcia is.
I don't either.
I don't,
scouting director or something?
I don't know. I don't think that if he's a terrible evaluator of talent that he would be with the Orioles.
Probably not.
But I don't know. Sorry, AJ. I don't know. Are you looking them up, Ryan?
Yeah. Freddie with a Y, the former pitcher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I assumed there was a former
the real sweaty guy. He's our bench coach now. Yeah.
Bench coach. Yeah, I assumed that it was that Freddie Garcia because, I mean, he pitched for the Orioles for a little bit, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking Freddie Gonzalez.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I don't have an opinion on him one way or the other.
I also don't think it was. Would it have been his decision to bring in Tehran? I don't know.
Hyde's right-hand man. That's not Freddie Garcia. Freddie Garcia isn't Hyde's right-hand man. Freddie Gonzalez is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Freddie, the former manager from the Braves, I think, right? And the Braves and the Nationals, Freddie Gonzalez. That's his right-hand man. Yeah. They obviously love him. He's a former big league manager. He takes the reins when Hyde gets ejected. I don't have it. Sorry, Ment Gonzalez.
There we go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Freddie Gonzalez. Yeah, I don't have a take on him. He's a bench coach. I think he does probably a fine job because he's been here for 3-4 years now, and the Orioles are winning a lot of baseball games. Maybe he is a bad evaluator of talent, but I can't imagine that his talent evaluations go to the top. I think ultimately it falls on a combination of Hyde, Elias Meidel, and Eve Rosenbaum.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been his call to bring in Tehran. I think Tehran was a Mike Elias move. Like, all right, we might need a fifth starter or a long man out of the bullpen. I don't know.
Yeah. So, all right, that's going to do it for us here on the Bat Around today. Thank you, Ryan, for the hard work on the notes and for the great job you do every week. Certainly appreciate you being my co-host on this show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners, viewers, fans for tuning in each and every week. Until next week, see ya.